Alrighty, well, welcome to the Sandbox. For any of you who haven't been here before, I'm Lisa Bonacci. I'm the engagement manager for the space. We like to hold these speaker series events a couple times a month to get you guys to learn about new things that are happening around SNHU. So if you ever have, people in your department or people you hear about doing really exciting things in higher ed, please let us know. We'd love to feature them here. We also feature folks from around the community. So same thing, if you ever hear of anyone you'd love to feature here, we'd love to have them. So we heard about Marianne and her team and what they've been doing, and we thought it was really cool and interesting. So we're really excited to be able to feature them here today. I'm going to let her introduce herself and her team. I think that's better. But thank you so much for being here. We're so excited.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, I think I have my own mic, so that's good. So hi, I'm Marianne Perry. I'm the Deputy Director of the JUICE Project here at Southern New Hampshire University within what we call College for America. And members of my team, I have Betsy Burr, who's going to be driving the demo part of our presentation today. And Betsy's the Senior Content and Technology Development Manager. And Chris Glendening, who was our top chef for our smoothie event preceding this presentation. And Chris is our production assistant. And so we're really happy to have you all here. Thank you. And we're going to I'll give you a brief overview about what's behind JUICE. And then we're going to spend most of the time on the student experience, and we'll try and leave some time for question and answer, which I think we'll have plenty. So what is JUICE? I'll start by saying that JUICE is education as in a new way, as personalized, just-in-time, contextualized, and empowering skill building for all students. And with a focus on engaging underprepared students and providing really effective academic support. And we'll talk a little bit more about what is known as developmental education in just a moment. But JUICE is very, very different from conventional approaches to developmental education. Come on in. And it's being developed with a 4-year grant from the Department of Education. And we're in the 3rd year of that grant. And I'll skip over and mention that we are currently have created our platform and our learning content, and we're in the midst of a randomized controlled trial research study to find out if this different approach, this way of helping students, is going to be effective. So a couple of other things I wanted to share what has inspired this experiment. And it really was the students in the College for America program who are full-time working students going to college online. And they're going through a program that's very unique. It's competency-based, first of all, but it's also project-based. And it's based on a mastery learning model where these students have their work evaluated, their project is submitted, and they can try again. They get feedback each time they submit. JUICE is envisioned to create a very unique learning experience. We have researched and tested the user experience, or you might call it the learner experience, pretty extensively. It's designed to be friendly and engaging and put you in charge of your own learning. And it's based very much on adult learning principles, including game-based learning principles. Just a quick word about our technology strategy, which you're going to see in action. The JUICE technology platform strategy was for us to create as rapidly and at as low cost as possible a very fast ability to author and publish in real-time interactive learning content. We have instrumented for learning data analytics, and we've used a very modular tech stack, and we've architected it for growth because we really hope and believe this could be very successful. So that's what JUICE is. There's obviously more background, but that's all I'll say about how we got here and what this is. And let's just say a word about who JUICE is for, who uses JUICE. So we mentioned the students, but I also want to mention the curriculum program developers who can create, revise, and publish content or continue to improve the interactions, and learning coaches and faculty that work with students. So we won't look at that today. We'll be focusing on the student, but a learning coach or a faculty reviewer would have the ability to recommend JUICE and send a link to JUICE to encourage a student to review and practice. And I think I forgot to say down at the bottom, JUICE stands for just-in-time, contextualized, and empowering learning assistance. And I think you might have seen that on the first slide. So back to developmental education. Many students are placed into courses for math and writing when they go to college. And what JUICE attempts to do is avoid a lot of the things that a lot of students who lack some of the basic foundational skills or lack confidence in some of those skills are faced with when they're trying to get a college degree. So for example, instead of trying to teach an entire basic mathematics course, JUICE flips that model and says, we're going to provide just enough review and practice, targeting the competency or the skills that you need for a particular project. We're not going to try to give you an entire curriculum. Instead of segregating a student who needs review and practice, we're going to make these resources available to all students. So it removes any shame or stigma that a student might feel if they know they need to review and practice skills because it's been a long time or they really didn't get it in high school. We are not requiring academic remediation. It's optional, but it's really designed to engage students with a wide range of interactive and relevant review and practice choices so that they want to do it and they feel supported doing it. Instead of telling students what they need to study, we're actually letting students direct their own inquiry into what they want to review and practice. They chart their own path. This is designed to help them develop an awareness of what they know, what they need to know, and how they learn best. And that's part of the learning principles behind JUICE. And finally, and this is something we can all relate to, especially if we didn't like math very much, we're not divorcing skills from the context in which people use them. So everything that you see in the student experience is contextualized in a real life scenario. And that goes way beyond the kind of word problems we all got in mathematics, which sometimes are very unrealistic. The train leaves the station, etc. So this contextualization is a really big part of the approach, and you'll see that right away. One quick word about the platform, too, is data analytics. JUICE, the platform, stores data on all student interactions. All the learning and the results of what students do is structured by competency or supporting skills. And we currently provide certain kinds of reports that we needed for our research project, kind of summary reports, but coming soon we're working on kind of deeper performance reports with answer analytics, things that educators want to know what incorrect answers or students, what do they think the answer is, so you can understand what students are confused about. Curriculum creators want to know because you want to know what the common wrong answer is so you can provide really good feedback and coach students and give them hints on what they got wrong and how to go back and get it right. So that's all the introduction I have. And what we're going to do now is show you what happens and how JUICE works. So let's imagine Betsy's going to bring up a learning management view that a student would have. This happens to be the current version of the College for America, a project page. And so imagine you're working on an assignment here. And while you're working, you discover that you need to calculate something. You need to calculate the percent of increase, as a matter of fact, in Joe's paycheck. So that's our scenario. That's what you are facing as a student. And in this particular project, you get a bunch of resources and a lot of things that help you. I only mentioned one of the things you have to do for the project, but that happens to be something that you're uncomfortable about because you kind of forget how to calculate percent increase. Now, I can see there's a shortcut there to some help. It's called JUICE. So that might be a way that student would discover JUICE that's been aligned and selected to support the work in a particular assignment or project. So let's say you want to check it out, and let's go into JUICE. So JUICE is going to give you a little welcome message. Hey, you can boost your basic math skills for help on decimals, fractions, and percent. Try JUICE mini lessons, challenge games with examples about home improvement. So right away you know this is going to be contextualized for you, and you see a little picture with a wrench there. And now we're in JUICE. And JUICE knows who I am. I'm Jenna. That's my name at the top. And I got some resources here. I've got some things I can explore. One thing I'll point out, and there's a tour on the page that pops up automatically for students, but you'll see these little speakers. So students can choose to use audio narration for this page. Why would they do that? A lot of students study in noisy places, either in their homes or in other public spaces, and they like to have headphones in and they like help with focus. Not all students are strong readers, and there's some reading they have to do on this page, so that's another reason they might choose to use the audio narration. But let's browse, and we'll demonstrate the audio in a few minutes in another location. So what we're seeing here, we've got some choices. We've got a set of mini lessons, essentially, that we can choose from, and I can read the skill names below. I'm looking for help on my Joe's paycheck problem. I see those skill names, but I have another set of clues that might help me find the one that would help me, and those are those little sample questions in there. So if you look at those, this is a way that students can find a little bit more about the mini lesson. Is it the kind of thing I need help on? So this particular one says, how much did the cost of the flooring project increase from the contractor's original estimate? Well, sounds a little bit like my Joe's paycheck problem. I think I'm going to try that one. So that's how the JUICE module page works. This is essentially around one competency and a set of supporting skills. By the way, that set of skills can be extended. It can be enlarged, or this could be broken apart into 2 modules. I didn't mention it, but you'll see there's this other featured activity, the challenge wheel game. We're going to show you that in a couple of minutes, but a challenge wheel game is another way to figure out what you know and what you don't know if you're not sure about any of this or what you need help on. So we'll come back and see one of those in a couple of minutes. But I think we should check out this particular mini lesson because it says percent increase, and that question reminds me of the one in my project. So let's go there. What we're seeing now is a JUICE mini lesson, and this is the heart of the JUICE learning experience. And it provides a variety of ways for me to review this particular skill, percent increase. I can start with the overview and get a step-by-step presentation. I can turn on audio, as we mentioned before, to help me focus and just walk through these steps. We'll come back and we'll try the overview, but I could also do a try it, which is an interactive step-by-step example, and I'll have choices there you'll see in a moment. Or I might be the kind of person that, I just find all this stuff kind of challenging, and I would rather just start with the game and see, I think I know this, maybe I'll just start with a game. But let's go through in order this time, and we'll start with the overview. And the idea of the overview is a just the facts, ma'am walkthrough of what you need to know in a very clear step-by-step way. And we'll just demonstrate, if Betsy you would play a little bit of the audio, we'll just show you how that works.
Flooring costs. You are replacing the flooring in your bedrooms. Your flooring contractor agreed.
So you get the idea, and that's laying out the context of the problem. So that's my foundation. It's giving me the numbers that I'm going to work with. And you'll see a little resource there too, understanding percentage, picture it. Because JUICE is in a way not trying to teach you everything, we are embedding certain review and foundational skills and providing visual aids for basic concepts or special strategies or other things. So this is an example of one on percents, which somebody might want that walkthrough or that review of that. So those are some pop-up visuals and resources and strategies like that. But you're really just going to listen and read, and this would simulate a side-by-side tutorial experience if you were helping me understand and walk through how to calculate percent increase. So it's laying the problem out for you. Again, providing some additional support about units of measure, very fundamental but very important to getting the right answer. And helping you figure out how to write the math expression, because for a lot of students, just putting the math expression together is a big part of solving the problem. It's not so much their ability to do the calculation, it's setting the problem up. So, and that goes on, and that's how the overview works. So it's very clear and concise, and this has been student tested very extensively, and they like the very step-by-step clear walkthrough experience of it. On the other hand, if you think you got it, and let's say we're doing Joe's paycheck problem, let's just test ourselves and do a try it. When you get to the try it, you have a choice, so you can choose your own kind of example context. There's no limit to how many examples we could have. If we were building JUICE out to support, let's say, a nursing program, we might want to create some tutorials that use the specifics of the nursing work environment or an electronics environment or some other environment. So we can offer context that would inspire or motivate different students. Anybody want to choose one? Cable bill, something we can all relate to. All right. So cable bill. Once again, we're going to have a real-world context. You're reading a letter from the cable company. Guess what? Your bill is going up again. It's $95.32 a month now. They're telling you in 2 months it's going up to $112.75. Dear valued customer, we appreciate your business, and so on. So we've got the basic numbers, and I want to find out what that increase is. I might want to write a complaint letter. Who knows? So it very similar to our overview, but now we have to answer questions. So who wants to answer, what are you trying to find out about your cable bill? What do you think? Betsy, you pick. All right, oops. Got to read that information again. What does it say that you need to find in your next steps section? Please try again. The feedback on the incorrect answer is very important. Students want to know what they did wrong, but they also want a hint or a clue about what am I missing and how to get to the right answer. So let's try again. Another principle, Betsy's pointing out where the correct answer is. If we read and paid attention to the information above, it's there for us. Way to go. Lots of encouragement on good answers. But you know, if I got it wrong a second time, it's going to give me the answer and keep me going. It's going to build momentum. Because there are other I can do another example after this if I need more practice. Or you'll see the games in a minute. So let's try, okay, units of measure. Let's try this one. Now we have to type in the numbers. What's your current monthly cable internet charge? So again, basic problem solving skills. What do you know? What are you trying to find out? And then, oops, it's not quite right. This is the right amount, but you need to include the dollar sign. That feedback is an example of specific wrong answer feedback, and that's very helpful to students. Sometimes students will get a general wrong answer feedback like, try again, that's not quite right. In this case, we know they didn't put the unit sign in. So that's something that the curriculum developer can decide when they know there's a common mistake that students make. And you get the idea. So a try it is essentially a tutorial with a lot of feedback and coaching, and it's walking you through the problem the way I think if you were sitting with me and saying, Mary Ann, this is what you need to do next, but you don't want to give me the answer, but you want me to get a sense of how to go about this, and then I can try again. So that's a try it. And all mini lessons have the overview, a choice of try-its like we saw, and then they also have another way to practice, which is called the challenge game. So you've got 3 games here for starters. Once again, there's no limit to how many games we could have, so that's a curriculum development choice. If you look below the games, you'll see there's kind of a progression of skills. First one says, choose the steps to calculate percent increase. We're not even doing the math yet. We're just choosing the steps to create the math problem. Next, we're actually going to calculate percent increase. And the third one, we're going to do several increases and make some kind of decision or judgment or put them in order. So I'm going to say let's play quick pick because I think, and we have about 11 different game types that are used throughout JUICE at this point. This shows us how we're going to play. We're actually going to click to select the right answer. I think that game is going to be easy to understand. Let's just start. I'm going to read the prompt. All right. We have another scenario. Always, you are writing an article on the success of a local college and need some numbers to back it up. You've learned that during the past 5 years, the number of students enrolled increased from 1,600 students to 1,800 students. What was the percent increase in students enrolled? Would anyone like to answer this challenge question?
Well, it's not 88.8.
Okay, it is not. Okay. Anybody want to yell out an answer? And remember, the goal of JUICE is to make it okay to not know, because guess what? You can try again. And we'll even, let's try 12.5%. See what happens. Well, you know, I got kind of lucky, and I was sort of guessing. So look what the feedback tells me. In case I didn't realize that I did it right. It's actually explaining why this is the right answer and how my math works. So it's a pretty impressive number for my article. Round 2. Costs of CDs increased, do an increase in shipping costs. It rose. What's the percent increase of cost of CDs? Okay, you get the idea. So you're going to try again. Let's pick one. Now, I want to point out feedback on the wrong answer. So this is really coaching. This is tutorial in nature. And look at the bottom. Oops, the bell just rang. My kid just called. I can show answers. So it's not going to leave me hanging. The important thing is that I get closure on my question and what I was trying to answer. Or, so I can always just go right and see what the answer is because, maybe I don't understand this or maybe I don't believe this game is right. Show me the answer. I want to figure this out. Or I can keep going. I can try again. Betsy, your choice. Do you want to try again?
Try 6.67.
Okay. Wow, Chris, you're good. Okay, way to go. And so on, so to the next round. And that's basically how the games work. There are 3 rounds in every game, and you can play the game again and again. It's not unlimited right now. At some point you'll repeat, but in the future of JUICE, if we continue development, we could create randomly varying games, and we could make it infinitely, available to you. So let's do the last round. Percent increase in the time to be used for training. Has anybody read this? Chris, you did it right last time.
I think it might be 7.14%.
Okay. You're just doing great today. One big thing about JUICE and the way we've designed it, let's go to the scoreboard again. We got the feedback. Is the reward, the kind of encouragement. So we get cheers, we get fireworks, we get balloons. And you'll always get one balloon for trying, but you get a bigger cheer when you get them right at some point. And you'll get the biggest cheer of all if you get them right on the first try. So that's great, and we would like to show you something on writing. So that's an example you've kind of seen it all at this point. You saw the module on basic math. We picked one mini lesson. We could go back and do others, and you saw the composition of the mini lesson. But let's look at something a little bit different. Now, let's say you just got your paper back, and the professor says, this is pretty good, but you need to watch your sentence fragments. So could JUICE help you on that? I don't know. Let's go find out. Now, go to JUICE Home by clicking up in the banner there. We could browse here and look for something on sentence fragments, but let's also point out that you can search. So what if we try searching? Let's see what we come up with. So, okay, we'll try sentence fragments. Looks like we've searched for help on that before. All right, well, there is something available here, and we can either go straight to a module called Facing Grammar Fearlessly, or we see underneath there's actually a mini lesson called Fix Incomplete Sentences, and we can go straight to the overview, the try it, or the challenge game. Before we do one of those, down below there's also some resources that have come up that we'll just look at one of those, because for some people that might be enough. That might be all you need to just, oh yeah, I know what I was doing wrong. So this is an example of a kind of visual concept of recognizing a complete sentence with a subject and a verb there. And that's something that might help you. And again, JUICE isn't saying you have to finish anything. We try not to have any assumption about how much help a student may need. A little bit may be all they want. On the other hand, since we're giving you a view into how JUICE works, let's go right into the mini lesson and fix incomplete sentences. Let's just go to the challenge game again, and we'll try one of those, and you'll get a little comparison for sentence fragments. So, Betsy, let's try sorter. There are different ways. We might come back and look at some of the other games so you can see how they work. I think a lot of students might start with the game, and then when they realize it's harder than they thought, they might then go and do the overview or the try it, and there's nothing wrong with that. Figure out what you don't know and go right for what you need. All right, which sentences are fragments and which are complete? Drag sentences into the correct bins. All right, you can just call it out. Elephants are intelligent creatures. Is it a fragment or a complete sentence? Okay, try complete sentence, please, Betsy. You've got it. Research helps elephants everywhere. Okay. Betsy, you put it where you think it should go. Improving the quality of their lives. oops, that's not quite right. This item does not contain a subject, does not tell who or what is acting. Okay, so you get the picture, and you know what? It's kind of fun to test yourself, and it's very forgiving. Down below, you can see we can show answers. Oops, I got to run. I wonder what the right answers are. Let me click show answers. Okay, got it. So it's not forcing you through the game, and it's not. It's really not penalizing you. You might get a few less balloons and cheers on the scoreboard. That's. But it's very low stakes and lots of feedback, as you're seeing, and that's actually a big part of our job, is figuring out how to write good questions and provide good feedback on incorrect answers. That's really where a lot of the challenge is. So anything else I want, let's see, if you want to get to the scoreboard, it's always fun to do that, but it could take a while to play the rest of the game. I think what I'd like to do is imagine you solved your sentence fragment problem, but while you're in this grammar module, let's go back up, facing grammar fearlessly, and let's see if there's anything else that you might need some review on. And I have some favorites here of my own, but one thing we could do, because I wanted to show you the challenge wheel game, is click on the challenge wheel game, spin the challenge wheel, so to speak, and Jenna has already played this one time, so it saved her scoreboard, but otherwise it would put you right into the first question and take you through several rounds. What it's going to do is give you a question for every skill present in this JUICE module. So every skill supporting the competency this module's for. So by saving your dashboard, you can either see, okay, it looks like I didn't do too well on fixing complete sentences. Okay, I knew that. My teacher reinforced that. I can click go and go straight to a mini lesson. I can also just play the game again. And that way I'll get to see my improvement. Again, not required. This is all on me. Hey, by the way, we're watching what students in this research study are doing. And in the overviews and try-its, over half are completing the activity. On average. In the games, it's more like 88% are completing the games. These challenge games are much longer. That's quite a commitment. That can be 10 minutes, to do a challenge game. Depends on how many rounds, because this is not trivial. You got to read this stuff and do it. But over half the students are completing the challenge games too. Remember, nothing is required. So we think that's a really good indicator that it's helpful, because if you finish it, it's because it's helping you on some level, and you're giving that value. So I'm going to pause there. I think we wanted to show you one more thing, and then we can do a few questions if you have some. We can go anywhere and look at anything that interests you. And I wanted to show you the view that a coach or an educator has. So we kind of flew by this on the home page, but if we go back to JUICE Home, you can see there's some tabs for different views that you have. And Betsy has switched to another browser, and she's now logged in as Coach Cora. So Coach Cora works with Jenna, and she's looking at a student activity report. So she can actually click over, depending on how JUICE is set up, and she can see what I've been doing and what I've been working on. And she can use these little orange slice trackers to see what I started and what I completed. So she's actually got quite a bit of information there if she's working with me and encouraging me or coaching me or tutoring me, or if she's my actual teacher. So I wanted to show you that's sort of the beginning of a reports capability that we'll be working on. So I'm going to stop there. That was a lot of information. I don't know if any of you have questions. We would love to take them. And please share any reactions or thoughts that you have. Any kind of conversation is welcome.
Or requests to look at anything else.
Or requests to see anything else. So, all righty. Yeah.
Well, this is terrific. Love
Oh,
it.
thank you.
And on one of the slides, or one of the games or the presentations, I noticed you wanted a math formula. And did you want it algebraically, or did you just want the numbers? Wasn't clear about that.
Yeah. This was a question about one of the games. It must have been the first module we were in the game, and it wanted the math. I think, Betsy, I might need your help on that. And we could go back and look, actually.
Was it, we were asking for the math expression?
I believe it was asking for a math expression.
Yeah.
So the answer is yes, it was just the expression, not a formula, not algebraic.
Yeah. So it was just asking for the math expression that would have probably been modeled in the overview and the triad as well.
And the other, I have a comment,
Sure.
two of them actually. So I'm putting myself in the place of a student sitting at Panera's, with my headphones on,
Right.
Noisy environment, and I'm going through the math tutorial,
Yeah.
and it wants me to do some subtraction and division.
Yeah.
Just wondering if you're going to have a pop-up calculator that they could use there.
Yeah, the question is, would we want to provide an online pop-up calculator? And I think that's very possible, and it would be nice. The nature of JUICE is we had to build everything that you're seeing in less than 2 years in order to start the research project on time. And we made a lot of decisions about how much to put in and what to focus on. But also, we heard from educators that students do have a calculator, and they're readily available online. So I think, Betsy, you can jump in. If we go into higher math, we will need to provide an input palette for, for doing algebra, for example, if we were to take it up to create modules on higher levels, and then we might end up providing it or something like that. But because they already have one, and as you notice, we're not focusing on the actual calculation. Anything to add, Betsy?
During usability studies, every student we had just pulled their phone out. They didn't even ask.
Okay, so I don't know if you can hear that online, but during our usability studies, Betsy's saying that every student pulled their phone right out and used the calculator right on the phone. So that was kind of good evidence that that wasn't going to be the highest need. Great question, though. Thank you very much.
So I just have a comment. We wrote this grant 2.5 years ago or 3 years ago, whenever it was, and I haven't seen anything since. And it's so exciting to see it come
That's
to
great.
life, because when Kate was writing it, Melissa and I were reviewing it, and I was thinking, can they really do this? Can they do this in 2 years so that
Yeah.
it makes sense?
Yeah.
And it's charming too.
Good,
I
good.
love I just love the sort of ethos is so encouraging, and
Right.
so
And that was
Bravo.
really a stated goal of the design, because so many students have anxiety
Yes.
about their skill gaps. It's best known for mathematics, like math anxiety, but in our research with students as we were beginning the design process, it's also about reading.
and writing.
And students identified themselves as not strong readers, or I don't like reading. So making it very approachable and welcoming and friendly and engaging was a really explicit part of the design, and also not making it childish.
Right.
So even the games we had a student say, I really like this, and it's not,
It's not patronizing.
Right, exactly. Very important. And on the point of not being patronizing as well, these contexts and examples, I'm sure we can always do a better job, but we felt it was really important to choose real-world examples that really anyone can experience. Everybody we think most people will have a cable TV hookup, for example. And it's just a big part of it. But I'm so glad you feel that way, and thank you. Thank you for your comment. Yeah. Oh, I thought you had a question.
So we recently had an auditor come in and audit our websites for ADA accessibility. So I'm wondering about students that might have some and need a screen reader.
Right.
So what sort of thought went behind the
Right.
planning of this?
Great question. Now, remember, it's an experiment. This is a very different approach to what some people would call remediation. So goal number 1 is to see if this even works. But we did think a lot about that. Now, what I can tell you right now is all of the pages Betsy navigated to get to the mini lesson will be accessible for screen reader support. Now we have some tweaking and work to do, but they've been architected and designed as a responsive web design that will support the tagging that screen readers need. When we get into the mini lesson, it gets a little bit more challenging for us. The overview will absolutely support screen readers and has been designed with that in mind. The try it interactivity is going to be much more complicated. So, we need another grant. I'm kind of joking. But, there's only so much we could do in the course of one experiment with a research project. The games themselves also, if we find they're successful, the games would need to be implemented differently so that they don't require visual engagement. So you can imagine we would create alternate games. And they might be a little bit more like a multiple choice experience. And our design challenge will be to make that engaging and fun using sound effects and other things. But of course we have students that might be have hearing challenges or visual challenges. So we have what I would call a baseline design to support accessibility, but not everything that we're testing in the experiment will be accessible as currently designed. But we've absolutely given thought to it, and we have a strategy for a baseline.
Someone that can't use a keyboard, someone that can't use a mouse that needs to use a keyboard, is it?
That would be part of the screen reader and JAWS type support, is that you could use it without a mouse. Yeah, but that's why the games, for example, would have to be, you'd have to actually identify yourself on the way in and be given an alternate game experience. So, but really great question. And you didn't mention mobile. This experience as design is pretty good on tablets, and it will sort of work, you can do it on mobile phones with the exception of the games. So that would be another enhancement or further development we would like to do, is make it great on a phone, and we would really like to see the games become mobile games. Either even independent of the rest of the JUICE experience potentially, because when you're on the phone, it feels to us that that's the kind of thing you might like to do if you have a little time. Yeah, do you have a question? Or
I had two, but you just answered one.
Okay, sure.
What is the next skill you want to add to it? Because you said you wanted to expand.
Great question. So what skills should we do next? Well, secret information no one else in the world knows. We're actually working on some new modules. And this is based on our College for America student support and ideas that we have from our curriculum team colleagues. And one is to support citations, because college students have to choose sources and cite their sources and are often troubled by the particulars of creating good citations. And the other, Betsy, we should mention in mathematics. So if you want to take the microphone and just describe the mathematics ones that we're adding.
We're working on ratio and proportions. And then after that, we're going to add a mini lesson on graphs and charts, and another on problem solving with units of measurement, length, volume, temperature.
Now, if we go to JUICE Home, we didn't do this before, but since we have a few minutes, you can actually sort of tour the modules that we have. So some of the mini lessons Betsy described can go into existing modules. And in some cases, we'll be creating a new module. Like citations, we'll create a new JUICE module. And we have a lot of ideas about the potential of this platform to serve in different scenarios that would not be classified as developmental studies necessarily. But anything else that you would like to see? I should ask you, what do you wish we would add?
Maybe like a basic computer skills one?
Oh, basic computer skills. We think it's actually a pretty good training platform in general. And that is something that some students need. People make a lot of assumptions about students having basic computer skills, but it isn't always the case. Yeah. How are we doing? Any other questions? Okay. Well, this has been so much fun sharing with all of you, and thank you so much for coming. And I hope you got to enjoy a smoothie too. And I want to thank Lisa for inviting us to the Sandbox. It's a blast. Thank you.
So much for coming.
Yeah, really great. Thank you.